Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome back to BookFuel, the space where we dive into timeless books and draw out the kind of wisdom that helps us grow, evolve, and reconnect with our truest selves. Let me ask you something. Have you ever had one of those days when everything just flows? You sat down to work, fully focused, and hours seemed to pass in a blink. You were in the zone, no distractions, no mental clutter, just you and the task at hand. And when it was done, you didn't feel drained. You felt energized, joyful even. Or maybe you were reading a book, painting, coding, writing, gardening. Whatever it was, time disappeared. Your worries dissolved, and you were left with this quiet euphoria, like your soul had just taken a deep breath. That state, that sacred state of being fully alive, deeply engaged, and joyfully absorbed, is what psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi calls the optimal experience. You may know it by another name, flow. Flow is the point where action and awareness merge, where your skills rise to meet the challenge, where the mind is so focused, so immersed, that nothing else seems to matter. In those moments, you're not just functioning, you're flourishing. You're meeting the most powerful, expanded version of yourself. And if you're walking the path of personal growth, if you're trying to live with more intention, meaning, and vitality, this book isn't just useful, it's foundational. Flow, the psychology of optimal experience, is the life's work of Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, a brilliant mind and a quiet soul who spent decades studying what makes life truly worth living. This isn't just a self-help book, it's a psychological deep dive into joy, meaning, performance, and fulfillment. And in today's reflection, we're going to explore it together, not just as a theory, but as a living invitation. I've titled this episode, The Fastest Way to Upgrade Your Life Through the Timeless Wisdom of Flow. Let's begin. Part 1, The Doorway to Deep Focus, Your Path Back Home. Author Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi once conducted a revealing study and found something remarkable. Most successful executives reported that they were frequently able to access a heightened state of peak performance. In these moments, their productivity soared to nearly 4 times the average level. That elevated state of being, he called it flow. In his book, Mihaly shares a striking example. There was once an ordinary factory worker on an assembly line who found his job dull and repetitive. Every day at work, his mind would drift to other worries, like whether his car tire needed replacing, the electrical problems at home, or even the gossip he heard yesterday. With his thoughts scattered, he often struggled to keep pace with his coworkers, fell behind, and was frequently criticized, docked pay, and left frustrated by his lack of progress. But there was another worker, same factory, same conditions, who had a completely different experience. This man loved what he did. While others gossiped or zoned out, he immersed himself fully in his tasks. He found joy in refining his craft, always thinking about how to be faster, sharper, better. Most people needed 43 seconds to assemble a unit, but he set his sights on breaking that. Every day he trained his focus like a muscle. Eventually he could maintain deep concentration effortlessly, tuning out the noise and distractions around him. In time, he cut his assembly time to 28 seconds, earning recognition and praise from his supervisors. What does this tell us? 2 people, same job, same environment, yet vastly different outcomes. The difference? One of them knew how to enter flow, how to eliminate distractions, lock in, and experience his work as something meaningful, energizing, and deeply fulfilling. The other didn't. Russian educator Oshinsky once said, "Focus is the only doorway to the soul. Everything in our awareness must pass through the door of concentration to reach the deeper parts of our mind." In other words, focus isn't just a skill, it's the starting point of all psychological activity. It is the foundation of a conscious, connected life. Without that door, we remain disconnected from our inner selves. We never quite realize our potential. We don't know who we are meant to become, what kind of life we want to live, or what our purpose truly is. And here's the thing Mihaly emphasizes again and again. The reason life feels chaotic or unfulfilling is because of what he calls psychic entropy, a state of inner disorder. When we act without focus, our stream of consciousness gets scrambled. We lose coherence. We lose ourselves. And as a result, both learning and performance plummet. So if you're on a journey of self-mastery, this is where you begin. You must first learn to quiet the noise and step into flow more frequently, more intentionally. And the gateway to that is complete, unshakable focus. That's why the very first book I chose to share on Butter Vision was Deep Work by Cal Newport. And right after that came Flow. These two books complement each other beautifully. Together, they teach us that deep focus isn't just a tool for productivity, it's a spiritual path. A way to unlock the most powerful, creative, and peaceful version of ourselves. When you master focus, so many knots in life begin to untangle. You level up your thinking, you sharpen your presence, you develop a skill set that becomes irreplaceable. And unexpectedly, but profoundly, you also become happier. Not the fleeting kind of happy, but the deeply rooted, quietly radiant kind. Let me show you what that journey looks like because I've walked it myself. Over the past few years, I've trained my mind to go deep, and I want to share what works. If you've watched my earlier video on deep work, you'll recall there are 4 main strategies to cultivate sustained focus. The first is the rhythmic strategy, where you dedicate fixed time blocks daily to work deeply, like a sacred ritual. For example, you might spend 90 minutes each morning away from all distractions, no phone, no notifications, and immerse fully in your task. If anxious thoughts arise, write them down, fold the paper, and say to yourself, "Not now. This time is for deep focus." Next is the bimodal strategy, alternating between periods of deep work and shallow work throughout the week. For example, 4 days of high-focus creation, followed by 3 days of maintenance, errands, or light tasks. It helps you cycle your energy while protecting your most focused hours. Then there's the monastic strategy. This one is intense. You cut yourself off from the outside world entirely, like a monk, and isolate yourself in an environment designed solely for deep, undisturbed creation. It's powerful, but not always practical unless your work allows for total seclusion. And finally, there's what I believe is the most difficult, yet most transformative method, the journalist strategy. This means you train yourself to enter deep focus mode at will, anytime, anywhere. Like a journalist on deadline, you switch into full concentration whenever it's needed, even in the middle of a busy day. Once you master this, your ability to focus becomes bulletproof. You'll show up differently, not only in your work, but in how you experience life itself. You'll start to feel deeply connected to your own actions. You'll notice more, appreciate more, and you'll move through your day with a sense of rhythm, purpose, and ease. That, my friends, is the true gift of flow. Part 2, fully present, fully alive, where action and awareness become one. In the past, I struggled deeply with focus. If there was even a hint of background noise, I'd have to isolate myself in a perfectly quiet corner just to get through reading or working. But everything changed when I moved to a new environment. Juggling school, a job, and content creation left me with fewer long stretches of uninterrupted time. Each task became a challenge of its own, and I believe many of you might be going through the same thing. Our modern lives are fragmented, split into bits and pieces that often leave us feeling scattered. That's why developing the ability to drop into deep focus at any moment is no longer optional. It's essential. What helped me build this inner muscle? The practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness in eating. Mindfulness in walking. Mindfulness while brushing my teeth or getting dressed. Every small action became an opportunity to return to the present. Mindfulness means fully inhabiting the moment, with your entire awareness anchored to the here and now. When you do this again and again, with even the most mundane actions, you train your mind to become still, and that stillness sharpens into clarity. Eventually, you'll find yourself able to enter deep concentration whenever you need to. And with that kind of presence, something magical happens. Your inner joy awakens. The happiness that comes not from achievement or praise, but from being fully immersed in what you're doing. In Dopamine Nation, they call it the union of present molecules and dopamine, the chemical of anticipation. Together, they fuel your desire to return to the state of flow. And the more often you find yourself in that flow, the more naturally focus arises. The noise of the outside world, it fades, the internal chaos, quieted. Whatever you're doing, no matter how ordinary, requires you to walk through the door of focus to come home to yourself. That's the first truth I want to offer you today. If you want to unlock your potential, increase your productivity, and feel a deep, sustained sense of fulfillment, you must first build your ability to focus deeply. But that's only half the story. There's a second condition you need in order to enter the flow state, and it's this. You must give yourself wholly to one task at a time. The question is, what kind of task allows you to do that? Mihaly points out that flow emerges when the challenge of the task is just slightly beyond your comfort zone. Not too easy, not too hard. If it's too difficult, you'll get overwhelmed. Too easy, and you'll get bored. In Awaken the Sense, this sweet spot is called the edge of your comfort zone. It's where learning and growth actually occur, right outside the borders of what's familiar, but not so far that you lose your footing. You want to operate in that sweet zone, where your actions feel smooth and intuitive, where the task engages you just enough to stay alert but not stressed, where feedback is immediate and satisfaction bubbles up not as a fleeting thrill, but as a quiet, deep knowing. This is good. In short, flow happens when there's harmony between what your mind believes and what your hands are doing. Because here's the truth. If you're forcing yourself to make money doing something your soul quietly resents, something you don't believe in, something that doesn't align with your values, then no amount of external success will feel satisfying. Sure, you might feel a brief dopamine rush. That's your brain's reward system lighting up. But it fades, and you're left with a kind of inner emptiness. That's because, as Mihaly reminds us, chasing endless ambition will never guide you into flow. So what should you do? Choose a job that isn't driven by ego or desire. Choose one that stretches you just enough, but not to the breaking point. One that you can fully pour yourself into. When you combine that with deep focus, the world begins to shift. You lose track of time, you lose track of yourself, you dissolve into the work, and that's when flow arrives. But I know what you might be thinking. That's easy to say when you love your work. What if I don't? What if I feel stuck in something that drains me? I love a line from Anne of Green Gables. If you decide you're going to have a good time, you can have a good time. The inverse is true too. If you believe your work is miserable, then every little thing that happens will reinforce that belief. Mihaly gently urges us to find work we love. That's the most natural way into flow. And if you have that already, you are incredibly lucky. Nurture it, protect it, build your life around it. But if you're still searching, if you're not quite sure what sets your heart on fire, then start here. As the book The World is Worthy puts it, if you can't change your fate, learn to love the work you're doing right now. And Mihaly takes this even further. He says that even if you can't change your external circumstances, you can shift your inner awareness, the contents of your consciousness. That shift alone determines whether your day will feel joyful or unbearable. In other words, your feelings of boredom or dread aren't always caused by the task itself, but by the beliefs you hold about it. If you can change that lens, you can change everything. Even the most repetitive work can become meaningful when approached with three things: a positive attitude, a shift in perception, and deliberate, goal-driven action. Take, for instance, the idea of positive self-suggestion, what Mihaly calls purposeful daydreaming. This isn't escapism. It's a kind of intentional visualization that motivates real action. Athletes do it, creatives do it, leaders do it. One of the most striking examples, Michael Jordan. Back in high school, he was rejected from the basketball team for being too short, just 5 feet 9 inches. His parents weren't tall, and everyone said he wouldn't grow much more. But Jordan had a burning desire to play. He'd whisper to himself, "Grow, grow, you can grow." And he believed it. He trained relentlessly, visualized his success, and adjusted his habits. Jump rope, pull-ups, healthy meals. And within a year and a half, he shot up to 6 feet 3 inches. That's when everything changed. He made the team, began to dominate, and rewrote basketball history. The lesson? Positive visualization works. But it has to be paired with action, with clear goals, with daily decisions that shape your destiny. So let me leave you with this. To experience flow and to build a life that feels meaningful, start with three things: a mindset of joy, a story you choose to believe, and small, steady actions that pull you closer to the work you were meant to do. When these three come together, even the simplest job can become your gateway into something sacred, into something true, into the flow. Part 3. The silence within, touching flow in moments of solitude. There is one last gateway into the state of flow, one that's often overlooked yet profoundly transformative: learning to recognize flow within your own solitude. After studying thousands of cases, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi shared a powerful insight. Those who know how to tap into flow, even in moments of despair, can still find joy. Not because life is easy, but because they've trained themselves to engage deeply with life, even when it hurts. In the book Flow, he tells the story of a woman in her 60s who found herself alone on a remote island. Her husband had passed, her children had grown and moved away, and the quietness that once brought peace now echoed with loss. At night, she'd cry herself to sleep. Each passing minute felt heavier than the last. To ease the pain, she turned to the books her husband had left behind. She read, she wrote, she sketched her emotions into little illustrations. Slowly, those words, those ideas began to lead her into a vast inner world, a place where she forgot time, where grief softened, where step by step, her will to live reignited. She didn't stop there. She planted flowers, raised animals, wrote jokes on chalkboards for passersby, drew little maps for strangers to find her home. Her spirit grew stronger. Her loneliness became lighter. And even though she was still alone, she was no longer lost. That's what flow does. It fills in the silent spaces inside us. It becomes a quiet, steady companion, shielding us from unnecessary pain, guiding us toward inner expansion. Even in the final chapters of life, flow can bring clarity, beauty, and purpose. Because sometimes solitude isn't an emptiness to escape, but a gateway into the deepest version of yourself. As Sue Monk Kidd once wrote, "Solitude is the place where we become our truest self. In solitude, we can focus without distraction. We return to what matters. We reconnect with the stillness we've forgotten." But in today's world, many people don't know how to be alone, let alone enjoy solitude. The moment we're by ourselves, we reach for our phones, scroll through feeds, watch videos, fill the silence with noise. We're overstimulated, yet internally starved. According to Mihaly, the core reason is a lack of inner discipline. Over time, we've become lazy with our inner world. Mental clutter has grown louder. To push back against this, we must relearn how to enjoy solitude, not as isolation, but as a canvas for flow. Because here's the truth, almost any activity can become flow if we do it with presence and wholehearted attention. Hiking, baking, dancing, gardening, making clothes, building furniture from scraps. These little joys, when practiced consistently outside of work, become mental sanctuaries. They soothe complex emotions. They restore order to the soul. They build an inner reservoir of strength. People who are emotionally resilient, those who bounce back from setbacks, often have one thing in common. They find things to do, even when no one's watching. Instead of chasing validation, they pursue wholeness. They fill their time with meaning, not distractions. But a gentle reminder, enjoying inner joy doesn't mean becoming addicted to pleasure. Flow is not escapism. It's not an excuse to check out. True joy should always serve healing, not avoidance. Balance is key. Anything done in excess, no matter how good, can lead to disorder, which is why Mihaly also emphasizes two powerful ways to invite flow: immersing yourself in art and moving your body regularly. When you refine your capacity to appreciate beauty through music, visual art, or poetry, you naturally tap into a state of harmony with the world. Try listening to music with full attention. Let it stir something in you. The more attuned your senses become, the more easily you'll slip into flow. And don't underestimate movement. Run, stretch, dance. Let sweat carry away frustration. Let your breath sync with motion. Movement clears the emotional fog and rebalances your mind, setting the stage for focus, flow, and renewal. One of my favorite lines from Flow is this: anyone who can persist through hardship and failure can transform their life into a flowing stream. A life of flow isn't just about productivity. It's about living with intention, with focus, with presence. It's a life where even your pain becomes part of the story of becoming whole. Of course, on your journey, you'll face roadblocks, boredom, loneliness, personal setbacks. But remember, these are not signs to quit. They're invitations to grow. The path to flow isn't always easy, but it's always worth it. Set clear goals. Stay focused. Love what you do. Show up fully. Keep walking, even when it's hard. With flow by your side, you'll become more resilient, more fulfilled, and more alive than ever before. Final words. Flow is within reach for anyone brave enough to be present. And just like that, we've journeyed together through some of the most essential keys to entering flow. The beautiful state where you meet the strongest, most joyful version of yourself. From building deep focus to devoting your full attention to every small act. From shifting perception to nurturing joy from within and learning how to sit with your own solitude. Every one of these is a door, a quiet doorway that brings you back to yourself, helping you live with more depth, more meaning, and more presence. Here's the truth that flow teaches us. This state of transcendence isn't reserved for the gifted or the wildly successful. Flow is not an elite experience, it's a human one. It's something you can access. It doesn't ask for brilliance, it asks for sincerity. Sometimes it simply looks like cooking a meal with your whole heart, tending to a plant in silence, or journaling under the soft light of 2 a.m. If you're fully present, fully here, you are already in flow. The world outside might be loud, chaotic, demanding, uncertain, but inside you, there's a still, sacred space, a place you can return to, a place where your soul resets. You access it when you slow down, focus deeper, and let the smallest gestures carry great meaning. That's the quiet gift of flow. It doesn't just enhance your productivity, it heals your mind, expands your perspective, and reawakens something alive and powerful within. So wherever you are on your journey, whether you feel like you're just starting or a little lost, I truly believe flow is the kind of book that walks with you. You don't have to master every theory, just begin. Turn off your notifications, take one deep breath, and pour your whole self into one small thing. That's where the shift begins. That's where your inner light returns, softly, gently, like a quiet stream. And then, almost without warning, the flow comes, quiet but undeniable, gentle but full of strength. Thank you for spending this time with BookFuel today. If you found value in this message, please share it with someone who might need it. And if you'd like to join me each week as we explore more transformative books together, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you won't miss a thing. Once again, thank you deeply, and I'll see you in the next video, where we'll continue growing into a deeper, more conscious, more awake version of ourselves.